So one thing that we talk to landowners a lot about incorporating into their waterfowl management plans is what we call moist soil vegetation, or moist soil management. And that's where we're really just trying to manage for these native plant communities that produce a lot of grasses and sedges and forbs that produce a lot of seed, and essentially kind of mimicking what natural wetlands do, that go through a summer dry period and then so it's that wet, dry, wet cycle. So think of a beaver wetland or something. You know, as the summer gets hot and progresses, that pool shrinks, and around the edge are mud flats, and they grow this kind of vegetation. So we're essentially trying to mimic that same type of system using levees and water control structures. And so the main principles in managing this stuff is really doing vegetation monitoring, see what you've got growing, what's good, what's not good, and kind of spraying when you have something that you're wanting to get rid of or release some good stuff. But soil disturbance, making sure it stays in this early successional grass and forb kind of plant community. You don't want to get it into shrubs and such. And then your water drawdown, using those water control structures to mimic that slow removal from the site. And what it's going to grow is a lot of these, like I said, kind of a grass sedge. You got sedges like this that have some value to waterfowl, but really these grasses are a really big, important part of what we're trying to shoot for. So you have things like wild millet. So a lot of people probably planted Japanese millet. You know, it's just a cultivar of some of this kind of native wild millet that we have. And then Sprangletop is another one, but there's a whole suite of them. There's panic grass, there's tons of them. If it's grass and it's an annual grass, it's probably going to be beneficial to ducks. Also, some of the broadleaf forbs we have in here are smartweed. This is annual smartweed, so it's good. It's not going to really take over the site. And so this is a good mix. And as you can imagine too, with all this surface area, this vegetation, is once it senesces and lays over in the water, aquatic invertebrates are going to colonize in there, and which is also a huge part of their diet, especially as winter progresses. I mean, if you just look at some of this millet, like how much, you know, seed, just for me just barely raking my hand over it. I mean, these things produce a lot of seed for waterfowl. And this is also a really good example of the fact of how robust some of these plant communities can grow. So it's chest high, over chest high on me, across this whole field. It's great composition of grass and good forbs. Moist soil is super important because it has a lot of nutrients that some of our planted crops don't, certain nutrients and amino acids. So they kind of need this to complete out their diet. Not saying it's more important than crops, but it's a key part of the puzzle.